Not too long ago, a baby hippo in Thailand by the name of Moo Deng went super viral all over the internet, leading to all sorts of coverage of her, with the internet obsessing over her stature and how cute she is. She even creeped her way into Western culture, with SNL doing a skit about her. However, a thread went really viral alleging some major problems with the zoo that Moo Deng stays at, but we quickly also got testimonies on the contrary. This story features abuse allegations, racism, prejudice, death threats, and even more, and the internet had a lot to say about it. It starts off with Dogtism tweeting out, "I'm gonna burst y'all's bubble. People should not be supporting the zoo that houses Moo Deng. Buckle up." Moo Deng, a pygmy hippo, was born in Thailand about 2 months ago at the Khao Keo Open Zoo, where she lives today. Not long after the photos of her were shared, she became viral. But this story has some blemishes. The Khao Keo Open Zoo doesn't have a spotless reputation. They are known for hosting elephant swim shows, where staff sometimes ride on the backs of elephants and force them underwater, even grabbing onto their ears for control. They are also made to perform various tricks. And then Dogtasm attaches some images, one of them being a post from World Animal News, where it says, on August 25th, 2018 at 10:15 a.m. in Khao Keo's Open Zoo, elephants are usually forced to swim to the bottom of the pool 6 times. They are ridden and prodded by a mahout, witnessed pulling on the elephant's ears while children hit the glass and tried to get the animal's attention, and parents filmed them. It's all very sad to witness. 10 elephants live at the Choriburi Zoo, and sources say that they perform 2 swimming shows per day. The rest of their days are spent giving rides in the zoo's safari exhibit. These claims of abuse are also seemingly backed up by visitors. Besides the swim shows, there are also reports of elephants being prodded with sharp sticks, staff shouting at sleeping animals to wake them up, animals being chained and kept in small enclosures, and so on. And then there are some images attached of what seem to be reviews, Google reviews, some from 4 years ago where they say things like, "The animals barely have any space, they chain the elephants by the ankles, you can buy food really cheap to feed them and you think it's amazing till you get through and you see people throw bags of food for the monkeys to fight over. Very heartbreaking." And another one that says, "In shows with elephants, to make the elephant swim properly, they poke it with something. There is an elephant on a chain in the enclosure. A show with a flamingo, people clap in a circle and he kind of dances. It's creepy. Animals in cages cannot rest. If they are sleeping, the guide shouts something at them." And the thread continues, "Photos leave more to be desired. The facility is dilapidated. Enclosures are subpar, walls caked with dirt. Guests are seemingly allowed to feed and interact with the animals. And I mean all of them." And then he attaches these images here of the various zoo animals. Oh, and there's a wild monkey problem too, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. Moo Deng's fame has also caused some problems. Staff are regularly seen playing with her and irritating her for reactions. There are definitely concerns as to whether she is handled way too much for the sake of clout. Problems with the zoo aside, visitors are no kinder to the baby hippo themselves. People regularly toss food, pour water, and throw things at Moo Deng for attention. So much so that signs had to be put up. There's no doubt Moo Deng is absolutely adorable, but there's a dark side beyond the surface. Some of these stories of abuse are old, so I sincerely hope this facility has cleaned up their act. But I'm not holding my breath. If you are going to claim I'm spreading misinformation, I genuinely invite you to show me sources that prove me otherwise. I would like to be proven wrong. I like Moo Deng. Night's Rain responded to Dogtism's thread and said, "The first few days were fine, but when the keepers started literally slapping Moo Deng, I was done. There's a fine line of building an animal/keeper relationship for health and husbandry reasons, but all this is just harassment and clout." Worms responded, "You're not a white man savior, furry boy, wrap it up." McKean responded, "No way new Moo Deng lore dropped." Azuro said, "Pretty obvious all the videos are of the keeper just pissing her off or manhandling her, but everyone thinks it's cute, so they don't care." Rai responds to Azuro by saying, "As someone currently studying to take care of animals, they kinda have to do that to get her used to being handled by humans, so that she doesn't hurt anyone in the future. It's a regular thing for animals that are born in captivity." Serene responds to Dogtism by saying, "So many Thai people have already made threads about how you're wrong though. The source is actual locals. I don't know how much more credible you want us to be." Teehee responds to Serene by saying, He blocks Thai people who try to explain, and Serene says, yeah, my other account also got blocked. My quote tweets Dogtism's thread and says,
the way people automatically assume the worst about Moo Deng just because she's from a zoo in Thailand is so racist, actually. If she is being mistreated, the people here will be the first to bring attention to it. White savior complex is alive and well. I've seen people calling the zoo a well-established, long-standing, government-funded zoo, substandard Thai zoo, roadside show, and shoddy facility. Like the thinly veiled racism behind these concerns are as clear as day.
Is that Sonic music? Okay, Smaggle, get the fuck off my channel. But the argument from Thai people about racism being involved wasn't just a one-off by Mai. For example, Citizen Mask tweets out, at Dogtism, I hope that everyone who name searches you sees the amount of racist followers who are pulling this shit on Thai people on your behalf. Clearly, this is what you wanted, right? Y'all are revealing so much about what you think of Thailand, and attaches a couple images. One of them is starting off with Cross-Eyed Cat saying, zoos themselves are pretty fucked up. I'm sure an Eastern zoo is even worse than the West. Serene responds, zoo conversation aside, what makes you think anything Eastern is automatically worse than anything from the West? Definitely a prejudiced thing to say. Cross-Eyed Cat responds, when we look for standards of human living by population, most Eastern countries have a much lower quality of life. If the humans of a country have a lower quality of life, why would the animals be treated any different? Why is what I said prejudiced? And they attach another image of some tweets where VC says, what did we expect? Thai zoos have much different care and standards than Western zoos. Scaredy Cat says, racist, and VC responds, this app is great. I can see you didn't put much thought into that comment. Unfortunately, the joke is on you. From your PFP, I can confirm I am more genetically closer to Thai than you could be. Plus, what the heck does someone's culture have to do with facts? Is it not true that developed countries have better animal welfare compared to underdeveloped/developing countries? Most times, those countries don't even have sufficient resources to worry about its own people, let alone the animals. But now for a viral thread that claims to debunk most of Dogtism's claims. Yami tweets out, I'm going to debunk this viral sensationist thread about Kaohsiung Zoo and Moo Deng by user Dogtism. I will also highlight other threads written by Thai people. My aim is to provide further context, offer clarity, and improve the reader's perspective. I'd like to begin with, if you are someone who absolutely does not believe in zoos, then that's fine. I am not here to change your mind. That is not the conversation I want to have here. Instead, I'll be addressing main claims about the zoo and Moo Deng. Let's start with Kaohsiung Zoo. It is located in a natural forest, surrounded by mountains, and it is the largest open zoo in Thailand at 2,000 acres. I mention this because the thread left that out, and it seems many people think it's a small, dinky zoo. For context, KKZ, Kaohsiung Zoo, receives some government support but relies heavily on visitors for revenue. Despite heavy financial struggles post-COVID, they still take in decommissioned animals from abusive backgrounds that no one else will care for. These animals have access to off-exhibit areas that the public doesn't get access to. These enclosures give animals more space to roam, rest, or retreat when they are not being seen by visitors. They are not just hanging out full-time in their exhibit closures. Most of these animals were born in captivity and/or were rescues. The reality is the zoo needs to make income so that they can fund their facilities, programs, and staff to care for the animals. So they allow visitors to feed the animals. However, visitors are only allowed to feed certain animals, not all like the poster has claimed. The zoo has specific guidelines to ensure safety and well-being of the animals. There exists an accountability mechanism. Generally, food for animals can be purchased at designated stalls within the zoo, which allows guests to interact with some of the species in a controlled manner. I'd like to conclude this tweet by stating, even with this in mind, you don't have to agree with the idea of visitors interacting with animals. That is a personal belief you are entitled to hold, but there is no need to spread misinformation around the interaction process. Back to my point about the animal facilities. Here is the common hippo's living space as an example. It is spacious, green, and entirely suitable for the species. It's unfair to select a few images to highlight cleanliness issues. You're shocked that there's dirt and fauna growing on the walls of a 2,000-acre zoo? And somehow telling people to not support an underfunded and struggling zoo filled with hardworking experts and a passionate and respected zoo director is supposed to achieve what? Kaohsiung Zoo, KKZ, is recognized nationally for its expansive grounds, which are designed to provide safe and practical environments for both the animals and their caregivers. and then these two images are attached. Yami then attaches a picture from Dogtism's thread, the one where he's saying that all of the animals can be fed, and says, besides the bird whose only crime is relaxing in a less aesthetic corner of the zoo, the other animals have their own off-exhibit enclosures. The penguins aren't just on concrete. That photo was taken on the bridge that they use to walk between enclosures, attaching a video on the right that is showing as such. He then attaches the wild monkey tweet and says, I'm not sure what the purpose of this tweet was, but this is Southeast Asia. Monkeys here are like what raccoons are to Americans. Talking of the monkeys, they can be very aggressive. Their claws and fangs can cause damage to other animals, which is why it's so important for Moo Deng's keeper to be with her during feeding time. This user's post is accurate and gives good insights into Moo Deng's routine. Yami then attaches this Reddit comment by Kim Wiko, which is replying to a post on r/Tumblr with the title, is anyone else kind of worried about Moo Deng? In a Tumblr post saying, not to be a killjoy, though it is what I do best, but the unsafe and rough handling of a baby pygmy hippo in a pretty substandard Thai zoo being memed into something funny and cute really just shows how much groupthink plays into public perception of animal welfare. Moo Deng shows avoidance, threat displays, and stress around her keepers that are constantly manhandling her, blasting her with a hose, and harassing her. The enclosure is mostly concrete, which is horrible for her soft feet. There looks to be some substrate, but there doesn't seem to be any areas for wallowing or deep water wading. There's also very easy access of this hippo to the public with no places to hide. I'd love if someone could shed more light on the enclosures, but from what I've seen, it's not great. Also, the free contact and forcing into tubs that the keepers do is only going to create an avoidant and potentially aggressive and dangerous pygmy hippo, but the public happily overlook that because she's cute. It's a similar attitude with seals too. Stop rewarding the bad husbandry with clout. Baby animals deserve agency and respect, and to grow up without getting harassed and feeling the need to defend themselves constantly. Then Kim Wiko replies to this post by saying, my original comment with links was hidden by Reddit. I guess they don't like links to Facebook posts. Since I'm Thai and have access to local information, I'll share some of it. The zookeeper doesn't handle her constantly. He only fed the mother, gave them a bath, and played with Moo Deng from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. He stays with the mother while she's eating to make sure that the free-roaming monkeys in the zoo can't steal her food. Then he comes back in again at 2 p.m. to drop some grass for second feeding time. You only get to see pictures and videos of him handling her in this specific hour because that's the only time he can take them. No one outside the zoo is allowed in the enclosure. You can watch 24/7 livestream if you don't believe me. Moo Deng spends most of the time sleeping next to her mother, mostly in the water. You will almost always tune into the livestream into her sleeping in the water as a vague, distant blob. Fun fact, she's very active around midnight local time. That's the good time to check on her. Also, this isn't the keeper's first hippo. He took care of many before. 8 years, 10 hippos if I recall correctly from an interview, including the mother, which is why the mother isn't aggressive towards him. I'll believe his expertise over a random Tumblr user any day. If you check the live stream, you can see a glimpse of another hippo in the next enclosure on the top. That's Moo Deng's 5-year-old brother Moo Toon, braised pork, that he also took care of, and he grew into a healthy, chonky boy. Some of the pictures of Moo Deng you can see online are actually Moo Toon. Yes, zoos can be problematic, but in the case of pygmy hippos, they're critically endangered with only around 2,500 left in the wild with diminishing habitats. In Thailand alone, at least 10 pygmy hippos have been bred in recent years. While it's not as ideal as them thriving in the wild, it's certainly better than letting them go extinct without taking action. Lastly, I'd like to point out how the media tends to exaggerate things. The reports of people throwing objects at her, it's only confirmed to have happened 2 to 3 times. Once with water, once with a seashell, and maybe with an empty bottle. CCTV installed last month prevents any more. Yet the news makes it sound like she's constantly being harassed. Why do I care? Because I've been following this baby girl since birth, and I'm one of the people who voted for her name before she was famous. I hate misinformation. If you have any questions, go ahead, I'll answer what I can. The same user, Kim Wiko, would later post, I visited Moo Deng today, and with their thread they attach these 4 images of Moo Deng getting water treatments, hanging out in her enclosure, and so forth. But anyway, back to the Twitter thread, Yami continues, let's establish some facts about the elephants and debunk misinformation about Asian elephant management at KKZ. I'm not sure why we need to provide evidence that the zoo doesn't use shackles and chains. There seems to be a misunderstanding that shackles and chains are inherently harmful. They aren't. At KKZ, they are maybe sometimes used temporarily to manage elephants. This is a practical solution for injured animals, bull elephants in heat, who can become very territorial and aggressive, and during veterinary procedures, etc. Why? Professionals specifically use iron because it's more comfortable compared to rope, which can cause burns and injure the elephants and lead to infections. Have you ever tried managing multiple 5-ton elephants as a 50 to 70 kilogram human? Ensuring human safety is also equally as important. It's also worth noting that using such restraints allows for necessary medical care or rehabilitation, particularly for elephants rescued from abusive environments. These elephants are often very traumatized, reactive, and pose a danger to themselves and humans. Unless you have genuine, actionable advice to offer professionals, please refrain from imposing your moral views on matters that you may not fully understand. The zoo's vet has already established that the elephant mahouts, a Thai term for trained professionals responsible for the care of elephants, do not use hooks or physical force that would hurt the elephants. The vet team actively monitors the elephant's health by regularly inspecting their excrement for indicators of stress or illness. There also seems to be a misunderstanding that the bullhook or ankus, the traditional tool used to manage elephants, are inherently bad, when in reality, many mahouts use them gently to provide elephants with guidance and signal for mainly the safety of the elephants and those around them. You can observe this when they guide the elephants back into their private enclosure, which also includes a pool and watering area, as the elephants at the zoo regularly bathe and swim. Physical contact between mahouts and elephants is not only unavoidable but is necessary. You cannot manage and care for certain individual elephants without mahouts. They are not true wild creatures. The majority of them are logging elephants, and some come from generations of domesticated herds. Claiming that these elephants should simply be in the wild rather than in captivity shows a lack of understanding that even the average Thai citizen possesses. The situation with elephants is far more complex than that, and requires significant resources and substantial legal reforms. Lastly, there's also misinformation spreading that the zoo accepts elephant rides. They don't do this. This is not true either. Can I just add that calling for a boycott of Kaukyo Zoo is so incredibly shallow and short-sighted. Please allow them to improve and progress naturally with time. To lose this zoo would be devastating for conservation, people, and animals. More facts. KKZ is the first zoo in Thailand to be awarded animal welfare certification by both the Southeast Asian Zoo Association and the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Everything I've outlined here is the kind of education and more you would receive from the zoo's staff if you could understand Thai. The reason many non-Thai visitors leave without gaining this understanding is largely due to the language barriers because most staff members don't speak English. Unless you're willing to volunteer as an educator at the zoo, please stop assuming these professionals are uneducated or abusive towards animals. It is also incredibly cruel to bash the hardworking staff at KKZ. The zoo's budget was heavily dependent on government funding, but that has decreased over time, which placed more pressures on them to generate income through visitors and activities. Pausing this thread to say that I do not wish to see anyone harass dogtism. Please do not use the information I've spent writing to cause harm to others. It would be the right thing for dogtism to drop an apology to the zoo, even if it seems hard. Vom Pup replies to Yami's thread by saying, "While I agree with you, the treatment of the elephants is still an issue. Is what they are saying about the treatment of the elephants fake?" Yami replies, "It is filled with extreme examples of unrelated elephant abuse. No elephant at KKZ has ever had their spirit broken. That is a barbaric practice that most Thais find awful. Not just white people and Westerners who want to act like Thais are incapable of critical thought." Well, Dogtism deleted their original thread and they locked their accounts, but luckily I was able to follow them before they did so. They tweeted out after closing their account saying, "Locked down my account for a bit. Literally getting constant death threats to the point that my stomach drops every time I see my phone light up. There are definitely things I'd like to correct in the Moo Deng thread. However, at this point, I'd rather not say anything at all. My rampant blocking was due to the fact that I was literally going through an unrelated mental breakdown last night and just couldn't handle it at the moment. I do realize some of the issues I have caused inadvertently. My post was well-meaning but ended up causing more damage than good. Something I truly don't want from my posts. My first course of action right now is to simply delete everything before it spreads farther. There are plenty of threads with better info and I encourage you to view them. I feel it is definitely not my place anymore to speak right now. The biggest danger of the internet is misinformation, and I have always strived to avoid spreading it. I'm sorry I have failed that goal. Dogtism continued tweeting out, "It's kinda hard enough to fix an error you unintentionally made on a thread that went viral while you were at work, already stressed out of your mind over other things when people are constantly telling you to end yourself." Attaching an image with the username cut out, but a tweet saying, "Huh. What a shithead, retarded, leftist, Appalachian, VetMed, 22, he/him, dog enthusiast person. Stupid enough to bark out loud and then lock the profile. Maybe delete yourself out of existence at Dogtism." I have just been deleting these because I'd rather not give my energy to negative shit, but I genuinely want to express that this is 90% of the criticism I've been getting. Why are you blocking us? This is why. I can agree that I effed up and I still need to protect my space. I was already dealing with other life stuff, so I'd rather get out of actively being in danger mentally before I give any response. After constantly receiving nothing but threats of harm, I preemptively started blocking people being tagged to try to prevent more attacks. Yeah, I've had some angry comments from things like outdoor cat debates and whether you should crate train your dog, but this is truly the first time I've ever had this level of threatening responses. It's hard to listen to criticism when it's quickly overwhelmed by hate. And finally, he continues tweeting out, making one final tweet to address some major things. The thread has been deleted and has been since this morning. I have only blocked those sending negative comments and threats with no constructive criticism since this morning. I have worked to apologize and unblock others. I am doing this while having to function as an adult doing my day-to-day things. Please forgive me for the time in which it is taking to address this. After I rushed a thread in the first place, the last thing I want to do is give a half-assed apology. I would like to once again extend my genuine apology to the zoo, the handlers, and locals affected by my actions. I am talking with people, doing research, and genuinely trying to listen to the situation at hand. I am still deciding whether it is the right decision to post a new thread to better address things or whether it is best to simply leave it with a sincere apology. I will still be blocking comments with negative intentions like threats and hateful language. I do still deserve to protect my own space and safety, and I do not wish harm or negative things on anyone, including those who have done the same to me. The thing that disgusted me the most was the blatant racism towards Thai people spread both under my original thread and towards those commenting on the subject itself. I will publicly make it clear here and now that no matter what your opinion on Moo Deng is, there is no place for racist rhetoric, and if my thread even somewhat encouraged that is not something I want up and on my account. Overall, I apologize and be figuring out how to move forward. Nana responds, "Don't make another thread about this, please." Dr. House responds, "Pack it up, bro. It's over. Leave." Juniper says, "Next time, don't bother making a thread you have zero knowledge about." And that's what the internet said so far. See you next episode.